Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday's assignment. You are going to be reading chapters 1 through 3 of Turtles All the Way Down. Okay? When you read that assignment, you are also going to be completing a close reading organizer for the first 3 chapters. So some of you have a slightly different version of this. Okay? Some of you have some red directions at the top to tell you to choose a certain number of things to respond to. So if you see those words at the top telling you to choose something, then pay attention to that, okay? So for everybody, though, pretty much, the directions are the same. Read each summary entry and think about which themes listed in the themes key apply to it, then color in those themes in the theme tracker. Next, make a few sentences of analysis to explain how the themes you chose apply to each summary section. So here's basically what that means. When I scroll here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 sections of summary from chapters 1 through 3. They summarize different parts of the plot, different events that occur, okay? And they are in order, chapters 1 through 3. So for each of these, you're going to read that summary, and then you're going to choose which themes you think they apply to, and then you're going to discuss how that section of the book pertains to those themes. So I did the first one for you as an example, okay? So I can choose between these 4 themes: identity, selfhood, and mental illness, chaos versus order and control, language and meaning, or privilege, power, and wealth. We talked about those in yesterday's background video, okay? So let's look at the summary. This is from the beginning of chapter 1. Aza addresses the reader and says she first realized she might be fictional when she was in high school. She considers that there are forces much larger than herself at work that decide when her lunch period is, and considers that if those forces had assigned her a different schedule, her story would have turned out differently. However, it's at this point that Aza begins to realize that a person's life is a story told about the person, not something the person tells. Try as a person might to be the author of his or her own story. So if you watched yesterday's video, that was the part, page 1, that I played John Green reading his own work from the first chapter. So you already are familiar with this, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to think about that section of the book, and I want you to decide which themes does it pertain to. So you can highlight. I actually used the same colors because I want to say I'm kind of OCD like that, although technically I do not have obsessive compulsive disorder, okay? But I like things to be very particular. So I highlighted that I think that this section here refers to 2 of the themes. I see 2 of them happening here. I see chaos versus order and control, okay? So what I can do is you go here and you can go up to the fill background color, okay? And you click it, and actually on my computer, the custom colors that were used to create this document automatically show up. I don't know if it'll do that for you or not, but if you want to color code them according to this, then I think that helps your brain remember, go for it. Or if you just want to simply highlight them in, yellow, because yellow is a highlighter color, that's up to you, okay? Whatever, as long as you highlight the ones that definitely see emerging in this particular part of the book. So I highlighted chaos versus order and control, and also 3, language and meaning, okay? So I went up here to background color, and I chose the same color here, okay? And I filled that. Or you can go up here and you can highlight the number, all right? So these are the 2 themes. So now what I have to do over here in this section is I have to explain why I think I see those 2 themes coming up in this part of the book. So I said, okay, I chose chaos versus order and control. The novel begins with Aza emphasizing how little control she feels she has over her thoughts and her life. Okay, because over here she says she considers that there are forces larger than herself that decide when her lunch period is, and considers if those forces had assigned her a different schedule, her story would have turned out differently. Okay? So she thinks that she's entirely at the mercy of forces larger than herself, and there's no way to fight those forces. So see how I can point to exact words and ideas in this section of the summary, and I explain why I think those relate to chaos versus order and control. She believes her life is controlled by something else. Control. I also highlighted language and meaning. And when we talk about language and meaning, I want you to think about the fact that she really talks a lot about herself as if she were a character in a novel, as if somebody else were writing this story for her. Okay? So think about that when you think about the themes of language and meaning, about somebody writing a story. So I wrote that I highlighted that because she talks about how her story is being told from a particular point of view in terms of literature. Okay, so you have first person, second person, third person point of view. The idea of perspective, that either somebody else, a narrator, is telling the story, or that a character is the narrator themselves telling their own story. Okay? So when she talks in terms of one's life being a story that's told about them, it suggests she sees her life as being a story that someone else is narrating. So when I talk about looking at language and meaning, that's what I'm asking you to look for, is those little places where she talks about how language is used to write stories. Okay? And how that connects to her own life. So here, basically, the big metaphor is she feels as if somebody else is writing her story, so she has no control over her life. Okay? And this is where I pause for a second to remind my 5-year-old that I'm making a video for my students and he has to wait. Okay? I don't have anything to drink, so go over there, please. All right, so you are going to read through all of these and do those things. Okay? Unless you have directions up at the top that tell you to do otherwise. Some of you may have a chance to pick and choose which ones you do. The other part is I want you to take a look at a quotation. Every once in a while, I'm going to throw a quotation at you, and I'm going to ask you what it means to you. So, the second part of this, on the last page, it says, read each quote below and identify its speaker and the characters who relate to it. Then circle the themes listed in the themes key that apply to each quote. Some quotes may lack a direct speaker. So in other words, if it's not something a character is actually saying, just say that it's the narrator. Okay? If it's in quotation marks and a character is actually saying it, write their name. But if it is not a character actually saying it, then you're just going to write narrator. Okay? So in those cases, it's okay to write speaker. And then, so under speaker, like this first one is Asa Holmes. She's the one who's actually saying this. And then related characters would be anybody else who she's with, okay, or who you think this quote refers to. So here's the example one. I did this one for you. The quote says, and meanwhile, I was thinking that if half the cells inside of you are not you, doesn't that challenge the whole notion of me as a singular pronoun, let alone the author of my fate? So I highlighted that I think the themes it relates to are identity, selfhood, and mental illness, and 3, language and meaning. And then you're going to type right here in the box your analysis of what that quotation means and how it relates to these 2 themes, okay? So I say first, Asa is wondering about her own identity. So that's the first theme up here, identity, selfhood, and mental illness. And then I explain what she's wondering. If her cells are not her, then how can she really be a true individual? Second, she is talking about herself as if her life were being narrated in a story and wonder if she can still refer to herself as a singular pronoun. I and me would be singular pronouns. One person, I, me. Or if she would have to refer to herself as a plural pronoun. Plural being they, because it refers to more than one person. If she is in fact not merely one individual, but a collection of many people. Okay, so this Asa girl's got a ton of stuff going on in her brain. first she's like, okay, well, if the cells inside me aren't 100% me, does that mean I'm not me? Does that mean I'm they, that I'm a bunch of people, or I'm we? Okay. So this could also be we. Okay. So the idea of language and meaning here is, again, she's talking as if a story were being written about her. She's talking about actual language usage. So should I use a singular pronoun to refer to myself? I am me. Or should I use a plural pronoun to refer to myself? We are us. Okay. So I have given you a quote, a specific quote here, and I also want you to choose your own favorite quote from chapter 1 through 3 here. Okay, so as you read, please make sure that you are thinking about your favorite quotation that you come across as you're reading, and either write it down, or I don't remember if Libby allows you to bookmark things because I haven't used it a whole lot. I'm old and I like to have paper books. Like, I'm still reading my book on paper, which you can do too if you want. I don't care. It's just easier to get it online. Okay, so if you once you finish that up, you're done. Chapters 1 through 3, and do this today. Okay, again, I'm not slowing down for the next 3 weeks. If you fall behind on this assignment, then tomorrow you have twice as much to do. And if you fall behind for the whole week, then you're going to spend your whole weekend reading chapters 1 through 8, because that's what we're reading this week, chapters 1 through 8. Okay? If you have questions, please feel free to contact me, and have a lovely rest of your day.